understand completely is there's only so much room for the non-wrestling talker every week, and I had a lot of time to do that for a year and a half. So I don't know if wrestling is going to play a role at all. You know, who knows? I mean, part of my life will always be involved in wrestling. I don't see myself doing a lot of, you know, I don't see myself at the Motor City Comic Con or doing many indies. I mean, it's nice to run out and you do a show and you come home and you can take a trip or something. But I like what I'm doing, you know, as the dad work and the.
You do realize though that everyone that watches this, and probably the guys, those wrestling guys, on it, that between that and the book promo, everyone's going to start going WWE Hall of Fame.
You know,
Hall of Fame, certainly. Which is inevitable at some level. At some point.
It's not presumptuous to just. I'll get that call.
I don't think for somebody with your
can't imagine you won't get that.
You know what? Rick said something in the dressing room because Kurt has kind of gotten I think. I don't know if it did. I only can assume, knowing Kurt, that when he found out, he came in like 34th in the all-time great. You know,
yeah, but that list is ridiculous. Hogan's 20-something. You cannot logically.
Whereas I said, all right, I was 35 or whatever. I was like, okay, great. I think to Kurt, it bothers him that he wasn't top. I would guess it would bother him that he wasn't top 5. But
he's so competitive.
Yeah, it's so competitive. Where it's if you're not the best in the world, you're failing. And I don't know if that's healthy all the time. But Rick said that he thought the Hall of Fame was the best event of the year, and it should be the one night of the year that people put aside their differences. And it was so big that TNA people should feel like they could go if they were asked, like Dusty Rhodes was a few years ago when he was the booker, and he didn't and waited a few years. If that phone call came, I mean, honestly, the phone call came, in 3 months, I would do my best to appeal to TNA to let me do
I don't think it hurts. To be honest with you, I am sort of the opinion, and I'll probably get slaughtered for saying this, that we are still at a place where, as WWE goes, the wrestling business goes.
Yeah.
I think TNA probably needs another at least 5 years of just brand establishment before people remember WCW couldn't overtake WWE. They had decades of loyalty and brand awareness and us versus them that does not exist now in the same way.
No,
I don't think it hurts them particularly.
I think in going head to head with the Monday night was, in retrospect, it was a mistake.
Clearly.
I thought it was a mistake going in. I even said it wouldn't have been my move. I admired this while it was happening. It wouldn't have been my call. I thought, that I'd said 2 analogies I used was that you're not going to out-drill ExxonMobil. There's other ways to make money in alternative energy.
Right,
and
smart.
Also,
I like that.
You're not going to be bigger than the Yankees, but that didn't mean at the time I joined, that the Rays didn't have a better team that year.
Twins still go to the playoffs quite often.
But we tried to be ExxonMobil there. We tried to be the Yankees, and it's if they'd gone to even our live shows and seen the percentage of kids there wearing Cena shirts, they would have realized that not everybody loves us because they watch the show. Like, there's not, I hate to say it, but there's not the emotional investment in a lot of our guys.
I think that's quite fair.
That there is with their characters. And I was, I wrote an article a while ago that kind of got, beaten up on in some circles by taking issue with, Dave Meltzer had felt that every time we mention WWE, we kind of diminish our own product. And to an extent, that's true if you start overdoing it. Right. But I didn't think that every mention of WWE should automatically disqualify something from consideration of being good.
Well, sorry, I have a question for you after that. Please go ahead.
But on the other hand, it is, I'm going back to something we talked about in case not everybody sticks around for 2 hours to watch the entirety of this
it'll
show.
Archive, so they'll go back.
On the other hand, when we have an opportunity like I had on this tour to be seen as being relevant, to where you can show our fans
the best
why I still matter to even to people who don't specifically know everything I did with the other company.
Right.
Tell them why I matter now. So not so I have to go out there and do a promo about what
reminding
I did
people
with The Rock. So there's whereas I didn't agree completely with him, and I realized that. Writing 4,500 words on the internet is not the proper forum to approach that. I could have done that in a couple hundred words, or done it at a little more length, on a show like yours. But at the same time, you can't blow these opportunities to make your guys look like big stars.
That's right. These guys look like stars. And we go back again to the party we had at Comic-Con, where Zack Snyder in that ring, who is still is among the hottest directors in town. Kurtzman and Orsi as well, right?
Right.
Zach Levi, the star of Chuck. That is footage that should have been used.
Yeah.
Because
And it
they
was
were
online, but never on TV.
They were all in a six-sided ring.
One thing, and this is, I'll say this, please, can I look at,
Yeah,
please, to the people at TNA, we don't need to appeal to people who already like us so much they're watching our show on the internet.
Yeah.
If we go to India and we're drawing 6,000 or 7,000 screaming fans on a part of the world where most of our U.S. audience doesn't even know we appeal to,
Right.
show us why we matter
You're
on our own
a
show.
worldwide brand.
Please
Yeah.
show it. Don't use it exclusively for the internet.
Yeah.
I agree with that.
It's depressing.
To me, you had a hot Hollywood party where the center of focus there was JB was the center of focus, Kurt Angle was the center of focus, the Machine Guns, Suicide, and you had guys like you talk about, biggest directors, biggest writers, and producers in
Zach
the world.
Levi was the ring announcer.
Yeah. And to not
Unbelievable.
take advantage of that more than they did, it just sort of shows that there's some confusion as to what's going to be the best for the for you
I
guys.
will get in trouble for saying this with due respect, but it was a huge missed
With all
opportunity.
due respect.
With all due respect. That's the subtitle of this episode of the show. So, huge missed opportunity. But let's go to
Let's go a couple questions.
Well, actually, real quick, one more
Sure.
question, then we'll go back.
Yeah.
To your point about
Sure.
referencing WWE, what was your view? One thing that did drive me nuts that I think is insane was doing a storyline built around the idea that the biggest prize in wrestling is a WWE Hall of Fame ring on your show. It's one thing to say it once, but to do a month and a half of programming around it is one of the most. You are subliminally saying to your audience, "We are second tier." You may be in the number 2 position in terms of market share. That doesn't mean that you have to. That's not necessarily the way you want to own it. Okay, and that Burger King doesn't run ads going like, "Yeah, we know McDonald's is a juggernaut,"
But
we're
they
here too.
countered the overuse of the WWE Hall of Fame by never mentioning that I was inducted into the National Wrestling Hall of Fame.
Okay, well, there you go.
They countered it. They're like, you know what? We may have talked too much about Hall of Fames, so let's not talk
That's
about
right.
Mick getting inducted with Terry Funk.
No cauliflower alley or any of that. But let's pop the question.
Well, there's been a lot of people who want you to tell stories about Chris Benoit, and I will say this: in your book, you have a chapter, right?
Yes.
I would say people go check out the book because
Yeah.
I've read it. It's really, really good, and I think that everything you might want to say on that subject in there, I'm not going to put words in your mouth, but-
I you know what? I would rather people read it. And I say this in all honesty. I'm not above self-promotion, blatant self-promotion, but I wrote a little blog about that chapter and about Alex Shelley stopping me to talk about it at Bound for Glory. And then I said, don't you have a match? And all of a sudden his music started. And he went out there and they tore the house down with Generation Me. And I realized, like, this guy went out of his way to talk to me about that chapter right before his match. And he said he appreciated, a guy of, my generation going out and trying to look out for the younger guys. So I wrote about that in the blog, and I said, like, I want every wrestler, I say past, present, and future, but I'm really talking about the present and the future, to read it. Like, don't buy it. Go to photocopy it.
Right.
Take it out of the library, borrow it from your friends, but read it. Not that my voice is the only one or the definitive one, but it's one of the voices.
Can we do an excerpt on that on the site?
I would love it.
I would love to do that if we could do that.
I specifically asked my publisher if we could post it free on TNA.com, and at first they came back, no, we can't, and then I asked for more of an explanation, and I said, at this point, honestly, it's not going to affect sales.
Right.
Yeah.
If anything, if someone reads the chapter and likes it, then
They'll
they
probably
might
go pick
be
up the
more
book.
right.
I think you're right.
I specifically said I wanted it to be available to people, and I think we can do some good. And if you can do some good and generate some goodwill at the same time, why not do it? So if you guys can find a way to do it, I would love it. I think it's important. I do address the Benoit situation. In that case, I do a better job in the book.
And a couple of people in the chat room have pointed out that it's one of the best write-ups they've seen on the situation. And so, as a fan and as people fans, you want all wrestlers, so I think all wrestling fans should check it out if they find the ability. And we'll look into seeing how we can help do that.
Love to do that.
So here's one from Champagne Ken, who's got a ton of good questions for you. Do you have a favorite memory of the sport auditorium in Dallas?
The Sportatorium?
I love the Sportatorium. I'll give you two favorite memories. One is, and when I say leaving it, I don't mean that was a great memory, like good riddance. It was the idea that I had lost a loser leave town match very quickly, like within 10 seconds. And I walked out, and just earlier in the evening, I'd had like an early dinner at my girlfriend's house, and she said, Jack, you might know the story, She called me Jack. I don't ever told her I had a real name. You know, she goes, "You're going to lose this match, aren't you?" And I said, "What makes you say that?" "I think I've got a good chance." You know, you talk about an older day with like your girlfriend. I said, like, I was still at least partially in character whenever I was around her. So I met her in character and didn't want to break kayfabe, you know. So just
the fact that she fell for you in character.
And that meant, you know, I realized, hey, I don't want to stop being Mick Foley, yeah, so I might as well be this guy. And she goes, "Come on, I know how it works. Eric Embry's your boss." I went, "Well, I still," and she goes, "And plus I'm looking at your car and you have everything you own." So I did. I walked out very slowly. You know, we were not the main event. You know, we were probably on right before intermission, and I walked out and realizing, you know, I probably was never going to see the Sportatorium again. I realized I had to leave because I was now losing regularly on national TV.
Yeah. Was it global at this point?
No, this was still USWA. Yeah. And I was the only guy who gave I think I gave a 2-month notice because my broken wrist wasn't healing. I didn't say, "I'm out of here, man." You know, I said, "I gotta go. You know, my wrist isn't really healing." "Well, how much time do you need?" "I'll give you a couple months, you know." But it was sad to take that walk and to realize I wasn't probably ever going to wrestle there again, even though I did on a number of occasions. That was one of my favorite memories. And the other one was, to give you a little backstory, Phil Hickerson, who was a great
P.Y.
P.Y. Chuhai. And I'll give you an example of why something didn't work as it regards to the P.Y. Well, I'll tell you that right now. Yeah. P.Y. Chuhai worked really well in Tennessee because everybody knew that was Phil Hickerson pretending to be Oriental.
It was like one man gang as a key.
Yeah, it was great. When he came to Dallas, they tried to play him off as he was Oriental, this giant Oriental, P.Y. Chuhai, and it wasn't the same. Right. Phil was a great classic Southern wrestler, you know, great wrestler.
In the tradition of great wrestlers.
Yeah, and he looked at the stuff I was doing, and he would say, he would come back and go, "Boy, they need to smarten you up. They need to smarten you up." So Phil came to Dallas, where I was still, you know, I started to make a name for myself, and he goes, "Jack, have they smartened you up?" And I know, Phil, they haven't smartened you up. So about Phil's second or third appearance there, I win the. I don't know if I won. No, it wouldn't have been the cruiserweight. I was, you know, at that time I was still
light heavy.
I was still light heavy. I was still too heavy to get it, which was part of the heat. But I wasn't like, it wasn't ridiculous. You know, I mean, it was like 270ish or so. But it may have been after that. Maybe Gary Young and I won the tag belts or something. And I was wearing the tag belt out to the car. This big security guard named Mike, this big African American guy, good guy. Yeah. He was walking me out, and some fan there with his kid starts mouthing off and dropping the N-word. And Mike goes, "If you don't get out of here, I'm going to kick your ass." The guy, "What are you getting?" And he literally started kicking the guy's ass. And that's how he kicked his ass, by kicking his ass. He was kicking. I mean, the guy was running away, and you give him another kick, and down the guy would go. And I felt bad because the guy's kid was there. Nobody should see their dad getting their ass kicked, literally or figuratively, in front of them, no matter what kind of a dick the dad is, you know. And Mike, he's all right. He's had enough. And it so happened that Phil was looking out the window and saw me breaking up a fight while wearing my championship belt, and realized that I was never going to be smartened up. Go back just about 6 or 8 months ago. I was doing some kind of publicity tour, you know, the radio satellite tour, and it was like Jackson, Tennessee, and he goes, "Jack, this is Phil Hickerson."
Oh, no
way!
And I said, "No, Phil, they haven't smartened me up."
Did Eric Embry really live in the Sportatorium?
I don't, he may have had a cot there. I don't know. I mean, he spent a lot of time there. So I guess he did a shoot promo. Somebody said, he talked about me, and I was like, "Was it positive?" And they said he was positive. The only negative thing at all was that I had said I wish I could have given fans a better match for my last time out, instead of the 10-second thing. And Eric said he wished that I would have felt comfortable enough to say something about it.
You were young in your career at the time.
Yeah, he was the booker and everything.
Yeah. I mean, it was a great pop, and then the fan singing "Hit the Road, Jack," which actually hurt me on a deeper level, because I'd clearly given a lot of myself to the people there. That would have been a pretty easy babyface turn to do. But I love that.
Much like when you left ECW. The fans had been on you there, but when you left,
they realized
your last match, they've been on you for a while.
Yeah.
And your last match, they were cheering you on, and they were saying thank you, please don't go.